There's not a year that goes by that you don't hear about a catastrophic fire happening somewhere. What's changing is how long of a duration those catastrophic fires are happening. We're going into fire years now instead of fire seasons.
6 weeks of smoke. You couldn't breathe. I couldn't see a mile.
It's like building a campfire. Once the fire is in the canopy and it's wind-driven, that makes an extremely catastrophic hot fire.
We've all seen the consequences of what a bad fire can do to a forest and a community.
The message we often want to get out is fire could be kind of friendly. It's actually manageable.
So trees are incredible recorders. Every year that a tree grows, it puts down a little chunk of wood. When a ponderosa pine is injured, and that forms a very particular fire scar, so we can use that little chunk of wood to understand patterns of fire. And what we see here is that we're well departed from healthy fire cycles.
The work we're doing is reintroducing fire on the landscape.
Our forests have not been maintained and managed like the way the tribes would have done it for the previous thousands of years.
Good fire is frequent fire at low intensity. The ability for fire to come in and do its ecological work, the important regenerative work that fire does without devastating the forest, high severity stand replacing fires like we're seeing.
We want to work across the landscape so we get back into that cycle of low to moderate severity disturbances that are setting us up for future low and moderate severity disturbances.
Collaboration is necessary for this kind of work because the problems are bigger than any one particular group, agency, community, organization. The Rogue Basin Strategy is the tools that can help us have that dialogue and that common vision and understanding.
We're integrating these really important values in a way that you find a balance that works for both nature and for people and their diverse views.
The Rogue Basin Forest Cohesive Strategy is an effort by collaborative groups to map a 20-year program for treatments in the Rogue Basin, which totals about 4.2 million acres.
It's a unique plan. It takes the kind of collaboration that's going on in many places around the West, but takes it to a quantitative level and to have a solid map and a quantification of how much work to do and even down to the cost for getting the work done. If we do the work over 20 years, we can model out a 70% reduction in risk from wildfires.
I think Blue Forest can play a very important role in some of these large-scale initiatives.
So we're really excited to work with already established collaboratives. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Blue Forest that a number of our other NGO partners pride themselves on as well is making sure that we're following the best possible science as these treatments are being planned and eventually implemented.
All hands need to be on deck, and that's going to require really strategic thinking around workforce development and scaling. It revolves the deploying of crews on the ground. These individuals are protecting our communities from wildfire. They're protecting our ecosystem services like clean water. You don't see the workforce because they're up in the woods. We want thriving wage jobs, an opportunity for the people that do very dangerous work with the chainsaws in their hands, with the drip torches in their hands, to be able to make a good living. And that model is what Lomakatsi has been building into our operations for the last 2 decades.
To have an organization that can do the science, that can do the implementation, but also at the same time do the workforce development so that there's more contractors to hire as these projects scale up, they're a perfect implementation partner.
As we increase the pace and scale, we're going to need a cushion, some upfront support to enable us to get this work done. It's essential.
So what an FRB does is it brings that upfront resource so that we can get the project done as fast as possible.
Payment to crews and workforces, it's an enormous financial fiscal responsibility. What the FRB will do for us is going to make the work we're moving toward of scaling up forest restoration, it's going to make it possible.
It's a catch-up of Western science into Aboriginal knowledge, and the two now are coming together.
And there is a celebratory moment when we can actually put fire on the ground and bring back that culture of fire back into this landscape. It's a moment of success.